Hi, everybody. Michelle here from Champions for Our Children. How are you? Sorry, I just wanted to start my video here. Perfect. We are streaming from two different devices. So I have my phone here and then I have my camera here. So if you see my eyes go a little wacky, it's because you can't multicast from Instagram. So I just wanted to say hello to everybody and welcome. This is a monthly live call I'm going to be doing to answer your questions in regards to autism. So any questions you have specific to autism and our babies, you can post them here and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have specific. It could be potty training, it could be communication skills, it could be dealing with aggressive behavior. Just post your questions, and then Jen, what you can do is just put them in the chat box so I can see them if questions pop up, and then I'll happily answer any burning questions you have in regards to autism. If you don't know our story, I have a daughter that was diagnosed on the spectrum in December of 2014, a little after 1 month after her second birthday. She lost all of her language. Then we taught her sign language. She started to make sounds. She potty trained with no language. This was the sign for potty training. Then she started to make sounds, word approximations. She was vocal stimming to kind of where she is today. She's a thriving, happy 9-year-old in a general education 4th grade class. Our first general education class. We're excited. Up until this point, she was only an integrated, and now she speaks beautifully. If I didn't tell you she had autism, I'm not even sure you would know she has it. So it's one of those things that I had no idea what our trajectory was going to bring us. I had no idea that this was possible for us. I got to work. I took a lot of face first hits. I definitely made a lot of mistakes. I had no idea that this was going to be possible for her. So because it's possible for her, it can be possible for all of our babies with autism, even children that are showing severe autism symptoms. I don't want you to think that anything isn't possible. In fact, it's to your detriment, your child's detriment, to not believe the impossible is possible. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. So if you have any questions for me, you're struggling with anything, potty training, communication, those are my jam. Aggressive behavior, eloping, anything, you just post your questions in the comments and Jen's going to read them off to me in the chat here, so I'll be able to answer them. So today I wanted to talk about something that happened last week. This comes up a lot, and I think this is such an amazing call to discuss it, is that every month we do 2 free workshops to the public a month. And this is just something that we offer for free. We want to try and help as many people as possible get out the message of what you can do to help your baby if they're having very specific challenges. And we did one called like an intro to ABA last month. In fact, I think we do that once a month because I think a lot of people believe that ABA is child abuse. It's gotten some bad raps because of bad practitioners in the past. So what we do in our program, we offer a group coaching program for parents of children with autism, is we teach you what good quality ABA looks like. And the only ABA that my daughter's ever experienced is ABA that's a loving pairing relationship between therapist and child. And I know a lot of people, a lot of adults with autism may not have had that experience, but this is all that we have ever known. And this is all that we ever endorse in the program. So if you came to work with me, you'd get to kind of see how that looked firsthand. And we really definitely want to get the message out there. For us, even to this day, ABA was the sole educator, primary educator for Juliana, and learning ABA as a parent is just so important because it starts becoming your parenting. And one of the things I guess I really wanted to talk about today, so we offer these free workshops twice a month, and we had somebody in the community write into the chat to our BCBA Melissa, who's fabulous. And she wrote something saying, these children are special and they were put on this earth for a reason. Why is it that we want to change their language or behavior that isn't life-threatening to conform to our world? Shouldn't we embrace it more? And it was such an interesting message that keeps coming up, not just in the special needs parenting community, but just in the community of our world in general, is that we seem to have the biggest divide of where people believe that the world needs to change for the individual instead of the individual adapting to the world as it is. And I ended up writing a blog post on this. And basically what I had said, autism or not, it was my primary job when I became a parent to teach my child life skills, autism or not. So I understand that our kids definitely have additional challenges that they face. our job as a parent to show up now is more important than ever before. And, you know, I think what ends up happening with a lot of us in the community is we start to get really scared for our babies. If they're not making progress with important life skills like potty training or communication, we start getting really, really scared. We start getting defensive. And then we start thinking like, how can I have peace for my child if they're not making the progress with potty training or communication or aggressive behavior? How are they going to live in this world that it is without these skills? And it is something I understand the fear. I can totally relate to it. I had it too. But but I don't know if the solution would really be to spend my time fighting the world's fires while my child is waiting here for me to parent them. And I feel like that's the kind of message that's out there in the world, is that we have all of these deep-seated fears for what's going to happen to our children when they become adults, when we're gone. And this world is the way it is, which is a cruel world. How are they going to survive? And it's such an interesting thing to think about, that the mind is putting us in a space where I'm just going to fight the fight of changing the world. And while I put my energy and my thoughts and my emotions behind that, I'm not parenting in that moment. What I think would be really interesting, and I took notes on this because I don't want to like mess this up. So basically what I was thinking here is, first I wanted to understand why parents do this, and I totally get it. Like, we're absolutely terrified. If our children are not progressing, and we see children in our community doing things that our kids aren't doing at the same age, our children are still in diapers, our children are still crying and pulling hair and biting and kicking when we don't pick the right toy that they want to play with, we don't give them the right snack out of the pantry. When they're behaving this way and time is just going by, and we're looking at the world and how the world works, and it's not really built for a child that doesn't have these skills, we are terrified. And I get that. But I want you to really think about, like, where should you be spending your time and your energy? Where should you actually be thinking that this is where I need to be? Because of those fears, because of those worries, your job as a parent, not just a parent of a child with autism, is more important now than ever before. And I want to even challenge that, why not bet the farm, no matter what age your child is at, that they can gain these skills. We've had children in the program from toddlers up to adults learn to potty train. We've had people that we've worked with that have learned communication skills late in life. This is possible. Instead of putting that fear and trying to neutralize that fear and energy, and I'm going to fight the world, and I'm going to try and make this world just bend to the special needs of my child, take that same energy and apply it to the parenting here, because all of those things are possible. There isn't a unicorn that I've met that we haven't been able to potty train. As long as they're ambulatory, they're able to potty train. I always give this thing to a parent. If your child can use an iPad, they can potty train. If your child can, all children can have an ability to communicate, and I'm not necessarily talking about verbal language. Communication actually starts with being able to express wants and needs. We can teach that in other ways. And then once we teach that, then we can look at verbal language. And aggressive and problem behavior, 9 times out of 10, it's connected to your child feeling frustrated because they can't communicate their wants and needs. If we even just focus on these 3 independent life skills, potty training, communication, and reducing aggressive behavior and problem behavior, so that they can sit and attend and learn. If we could do this as a population of parents with children with autism or not, that is what's going to impact changing the world. So I really just thought that today was so important that, to think about like the fears that are driving us to have these thoughts of like, I don't want to have to change my child anymore. I want the world to change for them. How is that serving you? How is that serving your baby? And what if I took that same energy and I channeled it into helping them get these life skills? And you may say, listen, I've tried this. I've tried to do this, Michelle. They're not clicking. I listen to everything you say. I try to do everything you're telling me to do, and it's not clicking. And then I say, I get other parents who will say, I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm in India. I woke up in the middle of the night. I watched your workshop and I potty trained my daughter. What is the difference between these two parents? One stopped trying. The other one failed forward. So what's the difference for this? The difference between the two, the only fail that is a true fail as a parent of a child with autism or not, is we stop trying. We stop trying all the things to get our children these skills. That parent that watched a workshop in the middle of the night, and the parent that watched that workshop live in their time zone, one could potty train and one couldn't because one stopped trying. That's the only true fail of a parent of a child with autism. I can't tell you how many things that I did with my daughter that failed miserably, that did not work. I can't tell you how many things we still are works in progress with to gain. But if I stop trying, that's the real injustice of being in this world, not the way that the world is. Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. If you're on this mission that you're going to fight the world and you're going to fight that battle and you're just going to try and go out there and change the world, and here's your child sitting here and they need your attention, they need your love and support, they need you to stop giving up on them. That's not the best use of your energy. What if collectively as parents, we learn to parent children with autism? I had to redefine what I kind of did for myself when I think about my thing with Juliana, is that I had these visions when I was holding her in the hospital. I remember this was not the night she was born, the next night after everybody left from visiting, I'm holding her, the TV's on, I'm just looking at her and I'm thinking about her future. I'm thinking about her going to prom. Maybe she'll be, maybe she'll be, the president of the student body. I was thinking all these things. And then the day I was sitting on the couch when she was on the floor with the therapist and she said she was diagnosed with autism, my world just went black. I thought my life was over. I thought her life was over. And it was the one of my darkest days. And the fear that came over me that day, if I had stayed there, if I hadn't said, listen, parenting now means more than ever. And I never thought of myself as a parent of a child with special needs. I never thought of myself as a parent of a child with autism. I just thought, like, I just got to learn her language. I'm just going to modify what my parenting is going to look like. And what ends up happening is we have this vision. We all have this vision, whether we're pregnant, we're expecting, the baby's here. I know I'm not going to do what my mom did. I know what I am going to do, what I'm going to do right, what I'm going to do, whatever, right? What's really interesting is that when the diagnosis comes, all that's gone. Right? Everything goes black. The future you thought you were going to have and your child was going to have goes black. And so does every belief or thought you had of being a parent. It goes right out the window. And then that's how this stuff, and this is how these kinds of thoughts are bred. And this is how this type of thinking catches fire. When we get frustrated, when we start trying to potty train and it's not taking, and we just feel like they're never going to land it. We start running these shitty thought scenarios in our head, and then we quit. And then I say, let me attach my energy to something else. Let me take my fear and my worst nightmares and throw it towards just being mad at the world. You know, I think what we do in a society, I guess, of like winners, like the people who get things done, like people who can get their kids potty trained, people who can get kids communicating, whatever, you all talk about the wins of it. Like, okay, like in my potty training program, in my master class, we have not one child who the families actually work on the potty training and stay with me, leave with a potty trained child. We have 100% success rate in there. But what I am going to share with you, because nobody does, and I think that might be helpful here for you to know too, is a lot of them have tons of accidents. A lot of them want to quit. A lot of their kids, where we thought we'd potty train in a week or two, maybe took a month or two. But the difference is that we never stop trying. That's the type of movement that will change the world. Not me trying to fight the fights of making the world bend to what my child can or can't do. What's really going to change the world is all of us parents of children with special needs, all of us parents, period, children with special needs or not, collectively coming together and parenting the shit out of our kids, showing them what it's like. We do not quit until we get this result. No matter what happens, we are committed. This is what we're doing moving forward. You will potty train. It is not optional to be my child and not potty train. It is not optional to be my child and not communicate. This is me giving you the best gift I could give. And that's what I thought. You know, I thought that what you all think. I'm going to die one day. What's her life going to be like in this world when it's gone? And it never came to me to ever think, well, I'm just going to spend the rest of my time on this planet fighting the world to make it more inclusive to her. And I don't want to, and I know some people are going to fucking hate this, and I get it. I understand. What I'm trying to just show you is that your baby needs you. You committed to having this baby, you committed to parenting this baby before you even knew autism was going to be a part of your world. That commitment with autism now means more than ever before. And I'm here to help you. I'm here to just tell you that anything is possible. Why not bet the farm? Why not put your hopes out there? Put your dreams out there. You have a child that's nonverbal right now. You have a child that's fecal smearing, a child that's being super aggressive. Why not throw it all hope to the wind? What do you have to lose? You're in pain now and suffering, and things may not be changing. What do you have to lose to believe that what my daughter has is possible for any child? And that's really what I wanted to just kind of hit home today, is that when we got that comment in this workshop that we were doing for everybody, that she felt this way. And I said, gosh, you know, autism or not, I had a baby to raise a baby. Raise a baby means I'm teaching them things. I'm going to teach them how to be a grown-up. Autism or not, that should never not always be the priority. And if we collectively as a community all keep that main agenda as the number one, that's how you change the world. Okay, so let's do some questions. I just thought this was it just really, I get this a lot, and I'm like, why? I don't understand this. You want the world to bend to you. It's never going to happen. This world's too diverse, too conflicting, too complicated. It's never going to happen. Change the world by showing the world what impossible turned to possible looks like. Okay. All right. Dana Smith. One issue that has come up has been screaming. When he's told no, he has started expressing his displeasure by screaming. Any suggestions on how to navigate this besides timing out? So this is really a really great thing. We're going to be coming out with I'm going to come out with a free guide, and we're going to put a post, and we'll give everybody access to this free guide. It's going to be like the 911 guide to any problem behavior. And the idea, what we all do is, like, when a child's in the midst of screaming, we want to like put the fire out, like, stop screaming, stop screaming, stop screaming, right? What I want you to do, what ends up happening is, like, in the moment when that behavior is happening, when the child's screaming or kicking or punching, we want to just make it stop. And of course, if the child's in an unsafe environment, we want to make sure they get in a safe environment before we try to figure out how to handle it. But instead of waiting for the screaming to happen, because it is something that she's saying her son has done, and he probably will do it again, I want you to study it from a different perspective. What I want you to do, Mom, is I want you to start to think about what happens before he starts screaming, during the screaming, and after. What we want to understand is, what is the function of the behavior? Why is he doing it? Well, the first step I always say is, like, I call ourselves bomb squad moms. So basically what we're trying to do is avoid a bomb from going off first. Then we want to understand why bombs get triggered. And then we can figure out how to stop bombs from ever going off again. So I call it's like the bomb squad method, mom Bob squad method, or whatever I call it. So basically, want to understand, if you can put that in the chat, I'll answer more. Think about the times that he starts screaming. And if it's just that he's told no, I want to really understand. Give me like a solid example. If he was just told no and he starts screaming, what was it before? What happens during it? What happens after it? And then once, instead of like trying to put out the fire as it's happening, let's see if we can stop the fire from even happening in the first place. And I can give an example, but let's see if she writes back. All right. Okay. Thanks so much for your help. My son is now fully potty trained thanks to your potty power reset. Yay, yay. We're happy. In perfect time for him to start for first grade. We're so proud. I'm so excited for you. I always say to our family, a lot of my families, I'd say 80% of my families join my 90-day masterclass for potty training. We get that down. Most cases we'll get that down pretty fast. So if we could start working on behaviors, we could start working on communication. So that's amazing. All right, Linda, my son can't concentrate and wanting to walk off at any given opportunity of an open door, even at school. Don't know what to do, as he might lose his place at the big school. So this is very, very important. A great question. It goes back to that. I'm going to get that guide out as quickly as possible, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. But basically what we want to do is understand the function of the behavior. A child eloping, first, of course, we're doing the bomb squad method. We want to make sure we can try and avoid him being able to do that in the first place. Then we want to understand why he does it. So if you could just comment below as to why he does that, I can give you why you think he's doing it. I can give you some tips on how to address it. When we look at function of behavior, there's something, an acronym, I didn't come up with this. It's called an acronym called, and I'm trying to find the emergency guide here. It's an acronym called MEETS. And basically it represents the 5 functions of any behavior a child represents. That's why this is so exciting to get out to you, because once you understand this, then you can solve any behavior that your child's presenting. The first one is medical. So obviously if a child's reacting to pain or discomfort, that's something that you would obviously want them to be seen by a doctor if you believe that's what it is. The second reason a child may have unwanted behavior is escape or avoidance, which we have an example of that with Linda here. The third one is attention seeking. So like if a child starts crying hysterically out of nowhere, or a child will all of a sudden be playing quietly, and then all of a sudden gets up and slaps a sibling, that could be attention seeking behavior. Tangibles, they want access to something and they throw a fit because they can't have access to it. And then sensory seeking, meaning that doing a behavior that maybe isn't appropriate because it feels good. So we want to really, instead of like just addressing it in the moment where everyone's freaked out, fight or flight, high energy moment where we really can't think clearly, I want you to really kind of take a step back and try and really look at this type of behavior as to why it happens. And then once you figure out the why, then you can figure out the solve. So basically why it happened, what was the function of them doing that, and then what's the solve for it. So let's see here. Let's see. Who do you have? Thank you for this. Working on communication and aggression with my son. Happy to help you. And please post any questions. I love that you're so blunt and honest. I want to just be like, I just want to put it all out there. Like, I know I'm going to get like lots of hate for this, and that's fine. I'm just trying, like, I just don't get it. I'm like, we're parents. We're not like, we're not like politicians. We're parents. We have children we have to raise. And raising means teaching them things. So yeah, no, I definitely, I'm just putting it all out there. Never give up, parents. Everything is possible. Potty training, I'm stressing it's so hard. Now that's an interesting thought. Like how well am I going to potty train if I'm thinking that potty training is so hard? And I had the same exact thing. When I potty trained both of my kids, I thought this was like the worst part of parenting. I think I even vocalized that to a few parents. This is the worst part of parenting. Worst part of parenting is potty training. That was a choice to think of it that way. What if I had just thought of potty training like teaching her something like riding a bike, or brushing her hair, or teaching her how to paint her fingernails? I chose to have shitty thoughts about it, which gave me exactly that type of experience when it was time to potty train. Okay, so I want to come back to some of these. I didn't hear back from Dana. So Dana said one issue that she had coming up was that her child's screaming a lot. And she said that he is told no, and he started expressing his displeasure by screaming. Any suggestions on how to navigate this besides a timeout, right? So a timeout so let's say a child asks for a cookie and you say no, and then they start screaming and yelling. So you put them in a timeout. The timeout isn't really necessarily the right course of action, because you're just responding to the behavior. And now he's getting punished for it. So what we want to do is kind of like dissect an actual example of what's going on here to help limit the screaming. So when I think of this, let me think if I could put a scenario together with this. So let's say he wanted one issue that's coming up. When he is told no, he starts expressing his displeasure by screaming. So I'm going to give you an example that's similar, because I don't want to guess on this, because I don't want to like make an assumption. So I'm going to give you an example of something that happened yesterday in our house. We needed the kids to clean out the litter box for one of the cats. I'm actually potty training my cats, but we have one litter box until the full potty training is complete. So they had to clean out the poop in the litter box. So it was mentioned to him in the morning, before you start your day, can you just make sure you clean out the litter box? And that was fine. Then all of a sudden they were in the middle of playing. Neither of them had done it. Babysitter went over to them, and Juliana was there too, and said, you need to clean the litter box now. And she started flipping out, got really upset, hysterical crying, slammed the door, went in her room. She eventually did it, but she was really upset. So when I look at the function of that behavior, right? So this is like a real life example I'm going to give you right now. So if I look at the function of her behavior, we have either the medical, she's throwing a fit because of a medical reason. She's throwing a fit for escape or avoidance. She's throwing a fit because she wants access to a tangible. She's throwing a fit because she's attention seeking, or she's throwing a fit for sensory seeking. So the ask was that she needed to clean the litter box. She was told she needed to clean her litter box during breakfast. She didn't clean it. Then time went by, they were playing. So then the babysitter came in and said, you need to clean the litter box now. And she flipped the fuck out. She didn't want to do it, right? So first we decide what was the function of the flip out. Medical, escape or avoidance, attention seeking, tangible, or sensory. So in this case, it was escape or avoidance. She wanted to get away from doing an unwanted activity. So when a child is doing that, and we have in this specific example, you have to clean the litter box now, and she's in the middle of a preferred, the best way to handle this in the future, and this is what I pulled out the whiteboard, this is exactly what I did with my babysitter so she could know. What we're going to do is we're going to set a timer. So that way, to avoid a meltdown in the future, we're going to give her a timer, like a warning, like, listen, 5 minutes. And when the timer goes off, you have to go clean the litter box. That way she knows that this unpreferred is coming. She's given a little more time to wrap up whatever she's doing. And then when the 5-minute timer goes up, she knows what is expected of her. A lot of the times, for whatever reason, my son's fine. If I said, go clean this now, he'd just get up and do it. Because in his mind, he's already rationalized, if I get this done now, I can get right back to playing. So in our kids' minds on the spectrum, they don't seem to process they don't seem to process that thought process through. All they think is, I'm playing with Barbies now. She's telling me to get up, and I'm fucking mad. You know what I mean? Like for her, what this whole experience did for us, it really led us to understand that she needs to be taught like more of a concept of time around the non-preferred activities that she's given. So for example, I said to the babysitter, I said, let's time how long it takes to clean the litter box. Probably takes a minute. They take it, put it in the garbage, and it's done, right? So let's say it's a minute or two. What I like to do is we're going to give her a warning. So she's going to get an audio timer 5 minutes before that it's time to go do this unpreferred activity, so she knows what's coming. And I also want to visualize and equal what the time means for her. So in my mind, I say, okay, we always do this here. Shimmer and Shine's a 30-minute show on Nickelodeon. So whenever we're taking a drive, which if she's in the car a long time, it's an unpreferred. How long is it? Oh, it's an hour. And then I say, that's 2 Shimmer and Shines. So now she can visualize what that time actually means. So I know I kind of went deep with this example, but like at the end of the day, I can address the tantrum and just put her in a room and give her a timeout, but it's going to happen again. If I'm trying to teach her and I'm trying to avoid a situation from reoccurring, I want to get to the level of the way her brain operates. And this is, I'll tell you, this is just now, it's like it's the way I parent both of my kids now, because she was my first anyway, and Cody got the benefit of all of this because ABA helps everybody. And I don't even know if this is 100% ABA, but I've just become fluent in the way that her brain operates. And as soon as I realized that she didn't want to do she was told she had to do it now. She didn't have any warning. So that really disrupts them. They don't like that. They like to know what's coming. And I do that. I can do that visually, like telling them like, okay, first we're getting in the car, then we're going to go food shopping, then we're going to go get lunch, and then we're going to go home, or what's going to go on when they go to the dentist, or even like, she doesn't need a visual of how to change a litter box. She knows how to do that. What I want to give her to ease her is that let her know that this is only going to take a minute. And this is going to be the equivalent of you jumping in place 10 seconds or doing 10 jumping jacks. You see what I'm saying? So this is how we do this. Instead of just addressing the actual behavior after it's happened, we want to try and see in the future how we can avoid it. I know it sounds crazy, but this is kind of how I do everything. Okay, let's see what else we got here. How would you go about teaching a child how to have a conversation and answering questions? My son is 3 and still doesn't say full sentences. So what we do with a child that has emerging language is we want to get a baseline, right? So we want to understand Okay. Does your child, we want to know, can your child repeat anything they hear? Like if they hear something on the TV, hear lyrics in the music, in music, can they repeat anything they hear, whether they use it functionally or not? So that's the first thing. So I'm going to assume yes here. Then she says, can he label things? That's the next part of communication skills. So this is how you learn communication as a human, a baby, everybody. First, you're going to repeat things you may hear. You may start babbling and then saying the full words. Then you start to label things like this is a water bottle, this is a pen, this is my shirt. They're able, if you point to things, they'll be able to tell you what they are. So we want to make sure where his baseline is, and then we figure out the course of action to take. Then the third part of learning communication is requesting things like I want milk, I want juice, I want water. Then after that, then we can start the conversational skills. So for her baby, I'm going to assume that he can repeat anything he hears. I'm going to assume that he can label, and I'm going to assume that he can request. If I'm wrong in my assumptions, you want to start where he does not have that skill before you ask for conversation skills. So a lot of the times I'll get a mom who says this and says, oh, I want my son to have a conversation with me, but he doesn't even request his milk. So you want to figure out where your baseline is, and then you can start having them request. You have them start requesting for things first fluently. And when I say fluently, like every day they're asking you for stuff. They're asking you for their favorite toy, to go outside, for TV, for iPad, for milk, cookie, everything. It's got to be like a day of like, and without you having to prompt. That's fluency on the third step of communication. Once we figure that part out, then if let's say we have that to fluency and we want to do conversations where we're answering questions, we always did this in very game fashion with Juliana. So we could always do like, what's your name? How are you? And then we had like, there was this game, I'll never forget this, called Guess Who. This was my idea too, because I loved this game when I was a kid. And basically it's all these faces. You both have these boards with all these faces, and you both pick a card, and you have to ask questions of the other person. Whoever guesses the person they have is the winner. She loves games. This was the kind of how I got her to start asking more questions, and that's how we kind of developed conversation skills. So she'll say, does your person have blue eyes? You know what I mean? I'd really have to prompt her at first because she had no idea what to ask. But then once she realized how the game worked, she was really into it. Even to this day, it's probably one of the best games that we've ever had. So that's kind of how I teach conversation skills, turn taking. I would do structured playtime with her brother or a playmate so that we can kind of encourage the language that way. But you don't want to start there if they're not fluently requesting things in their environment. Okay, let's see here. From Linda, honestly, we're not, all right, so Linda's son elopes when there's open doors, he's out of there. We have not figured out why he does this, as it's been going on for a while, as when he walks off. He has no particular destination, but just goes as the road or space leads him could take him in any direction. That even would live home if you forgot to shut the door when putting rubbish out and getting this post. So I'm going to give you an example of why. I'm going to assume this. I'm going to say some things here for Linda's son. What I want to do now is, let's say he's playing. I want you to keep eyes on him. And I would deliberately open the door because I have to understand why he's doing this. So this is why I would do this. Now I'm be ready to run. Get your sneakers on, right? So you open the door like while he's playing. Don't even make a thing of it. Just kind of all of a sudden open it. And he's going to be playing, and maybe he's going to see the door open. I want you to watch those moments, because this is where we miss it, right? We get all panicked that our kid runs away, and we're freaking out about about them leaving and what could happen if, God forbid, they get out and I can't find them. I understand that part. I totally get it. We got to do this like intentionally so that we're ready to run, right? The idea here is to figure out the function of why he's doing this. So let's say all of a sudden he's playing, and all of a sudden he saw that the door is open and he's playing. And then all of a sudden you see his eyes go this way, looking for you. And then he gets up and he runs out. If I put it in that way, and now I'm being more aware of what's going on before he does it, it looks like he's trying to get your attention. And every time I run away, what happens? You come running for him. You give him attention, even if it's negative attention. I'm going to actually, that's the only part. That's why I haven't released this emergency guide 911 emergency response guide to any autism behavior is because I want to really put a little thought in there how with children, negative attention or positive attention is still attention and they seek it either way. So I just gave a scenario. I don't know if that's what's happening here. We really want to dive into the function of the behavior, why he likes to do it, what's going on when he does it. So I hope that gives you some ideas, Linda, of what you could kick around for him. Okay, Dana's son is the one who said he screams no and then he flips out. Dana says, for example, he may ask for something like going to Nana's house and I'll say no. And then he'll say, bye, no, and will scream at the top of his lungs. My husband has become more frustrated and will send him to the timeout chair when he does this, but this clearly isn't fixing the problem. Exactly, right? We're addressing the symptom instead of the root cause. So now what we want to do is like, he doesn't like the answer, right? So basically he may be bored, right? And to go to grandma's would be solving bored. I want you to think about when he does this, Dana, like what's going on when he requests it? Is he by himself? Did he just finish playing? Was he playing for like 30 minutes and then he gets up and makes the random request? If that's it, he's telling you that he wants to do something. He wants to change the scenery. He wants something fun to go on. So what I would do in those instances, instead of just saying no, I'd make some other suggestions. How about we play in the backyard? No, we can't go to grandma's now, but how about we do this? Like offer a suggestion with you could still say no, but offer something else with it and see how that lands for him. Okay, let's see what we got. Hi, Michelle, joining from Jamaica. I'm having problems with biting. Oh, wow, today is I'm going to be releasing this, we're calling it I think we've officially called it the 911 guide for any parent to help fix any problem behavior for a child with autism. We're trying to, tighten that up. So basically a child that's biting, you have to figure out the function of the behavior. Are they biting because they're hurt and this is their only way to communicate with you? Are they biting because they are trying to escape or avoid a non-preferred? Are they biting because they're attention seeking? They're looking to get your attention. Remember, negative attention is still attention for children. Are they biting because you said they couldn't have their iPad? Are they biting because it feels good, like the pressure on their teeth? Like they biting themselves? Do they do it at random times? Does it look like a stim? Let me know more details around the biting, right? So this is what happens for us as parents. We only look at like the fire. We don't look at what caused the fire, right? We want to stop those fires from engulfing the house, right? We want to figure out what's causing it each time. Once we can figure out a root cause, then we can stop it from continuing to happen. Okay, let's see what we got. Hi, Michelle, joining from Jamaica. Yep, we did that one. And then see, hi, Michelle, joining from Tanzania. It's in Africa. Hello from Africa, my baby. She's almost turning 5 months, but she's not sitting by herself. And she's biting me at nipple. Is she developing teeth? Well, that's a brand new baby. So yes, that's probably worried about it 5 months old, of where you're seeing signs of a child with special needs. So if you're concerned, that's a baby. I would say the earliest signs I've ever seen of a child, the earliest diagnosis I've ever seen of autism around me, and I'm sure it varies, was about 13 months. So there's that. All right, anyone have any last minute questions? Today was good. Okay, here we go. He bites for attention when he wants something or when he gets upset. So his behavior has to be analyzed in the moment every single time for us to start to stop it from continuing to happen. So let's say he bites for attention, right? Remember, this one's tough, right? So I guess I need to understand, is he biting himself? Is he biting other people? Is he biting you? What's the reaction you give him? Okay. And then when he wants something or when he gets upset. So when he's biting for when he wants something or when he gets upset, what do you normally do? What is the normal response to that? I want the honest answer, and there's no wrong answer here. Has he ever gotten the thing he wanted after biting? And so what we need to do is understand the function. You got to look at, now when you have a child who bites for multiple reasons, it could be for sensory, it could be for attention seeking, it could be for an avoidance. Biters are tough because it's kind of a pain in the ass. What we have to do, what I've seen done with this, and I think it's a good course of action, is they kind of like almost, if the biting, what we want to do with a biter, I'd like to neutralize that biting doesn't get you anything anymore. And now if they're biting another child, then that's not going to really work. We want to try and when we have a situation where it could be unsafe or unsanitary, because bites can have, it has germs and things like that. We want to try and see if we can neutralize this behavior in the home. And we do some structured work around that to see if we can neutralize, to express to the child that biting isn't going to get you what you need. I'm assuming he's a biter, biting other people. Yes, I give him most of the time. So what ends up happening, first I'll tell you the solve for this, and then I'll tell you why he's continuing to do this. What ends up happening for children who are biting is a very it's like fecal smearing. You're going to respond to it, right? If your kid's smearing shit on the wall or biting you, you're going to say, ow, you're like, what the heck are you doing? You're going to respond to it. That's going to be your knee-jerk reaction. You're going to have to reprogram yourself to not react to it. And how do you not react to a bite? Listen, I know bite hurts. You're going to have your own whatever for it. He's getting something from it. And if we can remove the rise of whatever it is that he's getting from it, then the value in doing it, it loses its value and he's going to do something else. So in this example, which you were very honest, and I appreciate that, in this specific example, what we need to do is he cannot bite. He cannot have anything for biting. If one time, I had a mom who I talked to the other day, and she said 1 in 20 times her child would say the word for a snack, but then she feels bad, and 1 in 20 times she just gives it. And all you have to do is do that like one time with a kid, and they're just always going to be working, tantruming, and biting for that one time that you'll cave. So anytime a child's crying on the floor and tantruming, and you give them what they want, you've just reinforced the behavior. You've just taught them that this behavior works to get my wants and needs met. And 9 times out of 10, when you have a child that's engaging in biting, aggressive behavior, tantruming, it is because they cannot communicate. And when I say communicate, I'm not necessarily talking about vocal language. We need to give those children specifically immediate access to a bridge form of communication to get their wants and needs met. When Juliana did not have vocal language, she would tantrum all the time. She was miserable. When we taught her sign language, she got 10 signs within a week. And she got 10 signs within a week because I was so consistent. I did not give into to her pulling me to the pantry for a cookie. I did not give into her crying for a cookie. The only way she got it is she had to sign. And that's the same thing that's going to apply for behaviors like this. Okay. Any other questions before we go? I think I saw when is a baby to start to sit? I think a baby starts to sit at about 12 months or 9 months. Yep, so that's it. I think that's it for today. It was great talking to you guys. I hope this was helpful.